for two. Kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh. Going for two. Sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh. Now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh. Listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh. DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. What kind of alignment and running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping and woo. This is the Armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo. This is the Armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo.
What is going on, guys? All right, welcome to episode 193 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are live every Wednesday on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch, syndicated on all major podcast networks, and streaming in the Going for Two app for iOS and Android. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button and drop some comments down below. You've noticed we have some new intro music there to kick it off. I was supposed to have a 3-minute countdown. For some reason, it turned into a 6-second countdown, so I apologize for that. So we'll get that fixed for the next time around. I'm here, as always, though, with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. Ryan, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It is officially jacket weather's over. It's in the 40s now, and it's awesome.
Good stuff. Yeah, it was actually in the 60s. It was in the 60s down here where I'm at, man. I was outside with the T-shirt on. It was nice.
That's summer.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh, I guess it is. All right. Also joining us tonight, it's her first time on the podcast, and I believe it's her first time on any podcast. And I'm probably going to butcher the name because I forgot to ask her before the show what her last name, how to pronounce it. Jen Polvogt is how it's been saying in my head, so we're going to go with that. Columnist for In Between the Media. You can follow her at Jen Polvogt on Twitter. Jen, did I say the last name right?
You were close. It's Polvogt, like politics and vote.
Gotcha. And yeah, so on Twitter at Jen, and it's Polvogt. So Jen, this is your first time on a podcast, right?
It's my first guest. I've done 2 other podcasts. One was in between the holidays with In Between Media, and that was a blast. We had people on. I think we were on for like 4 hours, but
wow.
It was a good time. And I did the Lateral Show with at Herms NFL and my husband at Janae Jack FF. So this is my first time guesting, and like I told you guys, might blank out, but I'll be a good time, I promise.
All right, good stuff. So yeah, let's go ahead and plug, kind of what you do over at In Between Media and just in general what you do in the fantasy space.
Yeah, so over at In Between, I'm a columnist. We're a little bit different because we don't just focus solely on fantasy. We do have fantasy NASCAR, we have fantasy golf, we do fantasy football, obviously. But we also do lifestyle columns where we bring a little bit of life into what we're doing and, presenting ourselves, making ourselves more personable, telling our stories to the world, and we always combine it with a piece of fantasy advice as well.
Good stuff. It's definitely a little bit different. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. We got a lot to get to tonight. We'll do some news and notes.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, news and notes, as always, is brought to you by the Original Craft Beer Club. Get 12 beers delivered monthly straight to your door. Sign up at goingfor2.com/getbeer to get free shipping and 3 free gifts. That's goingfor2.com/getbeer and claim your free gifts. Let's kick it off here with some a little bit older news, but we were on a 2-week hiatus, so we didn't talk about it on the show, Ryan. Carson Wentz trade. What are your thoughts on the Carson Wentz trade? What does it do for the Colts skill players?
So, I think start with Wentz. It was the best possible thing to happen to him because he needed a new lease on life. Philly wasn't doing it for him. He was kind of just crumbling more year by year after a great start. So I love it for him. He has a top-tier offensive line. I think they're a team that's going to go and get a wide receiver in free agency. They're the prime kind of spot for an Allen Robinson. Kenny Galladay if he doesn't get the franchise tag. But like that's a good spot for somebody to land. I like it for Michael Pittman. I like it for Mo Alley Cox a lot because of what we've seen him go to with the tight ends. That's such a better situation for him, man. Like he was thrown to like third team scout receivers last year, where Greg Ward's your number one, and it's just bad. He said the rod in the deal. I'm happy for him. There's some hesitation. PFF showed when he had a clean pocket, he was 32nd in the league in passer rating.
Yikes.
Like,
remind me again, how many teams are in the NFL, Ryan?
That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's probably 42 starters total in the whole year, like injuries, maybe 50. Like, it's bad. Like, you're bottom of the barrel there. I don't love that going into it, but the situation is just something that it gives him his best chance to succeed.
Yep.
If I own him, I'm trading him, though.
Yeah, I think with that, the value definitely is up. And yeah, Sean in the chat mentioned he had Polvogt to throw to for a couple of weeks there, and he was a kind of a fantasy thing for a little while. Jen, what are your thoughts on the Carson Wentz trade?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be a little bit more comfortable now that he's back with Frank Reich. And, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, we haven't really seen anything from him since basically 2017, really, anything good. So I'm interested to see how he uses his Pittman and Paris Campbell and see where he goes from there.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of interested in, too, is Paris Campbell, because we've been wanting him to kind of break out, and he just can't stay on the field. So, you know, I've heard a lot of buzz around him. Is this going to be his year with Carson Wentz under center? And my thought is I think Carson Wentz isn't any worse than Rivers was last year. So I do think he's going to be an improvement. I do think he's shown in the past that he can be good. He's got a great defense, got a great running game. They can definitely hide a lot of things if he does have some bad mechanic issues early on. Run the ball, play good defense, don't turn it over, which is something he did early in his career. You know, he was good at not turning the ball over early in his career. It wasn't until last year he became a turnover machine. So if he can get back to that, don't turn it over, play good defense, run the ball, I think they'll be fine there. For fantasy purposes, I think Carson Wentz in redraft will be a sort of a late round flyer. You know, you're going to pick him super late after everybody else. Hope he ends up having a good season. But like Ryan said, in Dynasty, if you own him, sell him. And if you don't own him, I wouldn't be going out and try to buy him unless maybe you have a stack with Pittman Jr. and you're hoping for something big there. But I wouldn't be buying right now. His value is probably too high. All right, let's move into some running backs here. And Chris Carson, who I know you like a lot, Ryan, reportedly unlikely to sign with the Seahawks here. So he's going to be on the free agent market there. Is there anywhere he could go that's going to increase his value over what he was getting in Seattle there? He's getting pretty much the workload there.
I mean, he was, but his snap share was still 22nd in the league. Opportunities were 20th. Like, his volume wasn't great this year because they went a little bit more pass happy and they rotated in like Travis Homer and some other guys. So I want to see him go somewhere where he can take over or at least get a solid 15 to 20 touches or 18 to 20 touches a game. So I'm looking for like the Jets would be a solid landing spot for him. They have nothing in place. You add a running quarterback to the mix, which he's showed he's very, very efficient doing. You pair him with Justin Fields there. I love that. I don't think the running back market's so weird. He's not going to cost a lot, and he's super talented. Is a nothing but perform. It's just staying healthy. But I might like almost any situation more than Seattle, to be honest.
Yeah. So, Jen, Chris Carson, are you trying to buy Chris Carson? Are you looking to trade Chris Carson if you got him? Like, what are you doing with Chris Carson? You think his value can go up?
I mean, I'm probably going to hold on to him. He's a decent back, and I'm not entirely sure that Seattle's definitely going to get rid of him. I mean, Pete Carroll says that he wants to run the ball more, and Chris Carson fits that for him.
Yep, good stuff. I like it. And Ryan, I think I may be getting a new co-host here because I'm looking at the chat and everyone's just yelling Jen's name. I see Jen ! Jen is great. Jen is the best. Let's go, Jen. I don't get that when I have you on the show, Ryan. What's up with that?
No, I know. One day people will like me. Probably not. It's cool.
All right, let's talk about a couple of receivers here. Alshon Jeffrey gets cut. Ryan, real quick, any interest here at all with Alshon Jeffrey? Anywhere he can go? Is he pretty much washed?
I'll be real quick. No, he's done.
He's done.
Yeah,
I think
where's he going to go produce?
I mentioned on a podcast last night that I was on it as a guest appearance that potentially maybe he lands in Indianapolis. with Carson Wentz, and then he becomes sort of the tutor for Michael Pittman Jr. to sort of have that veteran presence there.
That's fine, but do you want a tutor in fantasy? Or
yeah,
do you
no.
want
For fantasy purposes, he's pretty much he's done. You don't want nothing to do with him. If you hadn't sold him already, you're pretty much SOL at this point. Any thoughts on Alshon Jeffrey, Jen?
No, I mean, same. He hasn't done anything since 2014. I mean, he's done. He's 31. He's almost 32. I don't think he's going to land anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. I think if he goes anywhere, it's just for that veteran presence on the team.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Tennessee Titans, and there's two guys that do have some value in fantasy, and one of them, just broke out this past year. But Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, the GM came out. You kind of read between the lines a little bit, but the GM basically said there's a chance that neither Corey Davis nor Jonnu Smith would be back with Tennessee this year. Ryan, what are you doing with these guys? Do you think there's anywhere they can go where they can gain some value? Because they had a pretty good season, both of them.
They did. I want to see Corey Davis go to a situation where he's not the full-blown number one. His best production is when he was the Robin, the A.J. Brown's Batman. So I want to see him go somewhere like that. That being said, I'm sticking with my prediction I've been saying since May. Or, not May. Well, I'm losing it. Since the season ended. He's gonna end up in Baltimore. It's just the kind of pick they do.
Yeah.
And there's been strong rumors about it. I think he's ended up there. And I just don't understand, if you lose one, why would you let Johnny Smith walk?
Yeah.
Your pass catchers outside of A.J. Brown or Adam Humphries.
Yeah. And then, Ferkser? Adam Ferkser, he had some value there for a half a second.
Yeah, and then McCoyle Pruitt. That's their tight end group. The hell are you doing letting them both walk?
Yeah.
I think Corey Davis goes and Johnny stays.
Yeah, if you read the quote, he basically compared the two to a free agent that they lost last year, and I can't think of the name right now. So he wasn't saying that they would definitely be leaving, but he compared them to a guy that didn't sign with them last year. So that's kind of what everybody's thinking, he might be getting rid of these two guys. But there's a good chance they both sign. Jen, any thoughts on Corey Davis or Jonnu Smith landing anywhere else?
I mean, I feel like New England would be a good place for Corey Davis, but I don't think they're going to get rid of Corey Davis. If they're going between the two, I think Johnny's got to go. I mean, he really didn't have any production past week 5 that was worth anything. So, and like you said, with Ferkser, so I would say they would probably keep Corey Davis, and they obviously don't have a cap space for both of them. But yeah, I see Johnny going.
Yeah, I think Johnny's probably the one that's going to go as well. Because if you look at I think Ryan's air conditioning just came on. I can't hear myself. I'm in a tunnel. What you got going over there, Ryan? There we go.
My sound just.
I was wondering what happened. I heard I was in a tunnel there for a second. But yeah, Jonnu Smith, his production. If you look at his splits with A.J. Brown in the lineup and without A.J. Brown in the lineup, it's night and day. I think that with A.J. Brown there, Smith becomes sort of secondary option, even behind Corey Davis, and of course Derrick Henry gets his fair share of things too. So, yeah, I would pick that Jonnu Smith would be the one that I would think would be leaving as well. I do think he can get paid somewhere else, and if he goes to a team that utilizes their tight end, maybe he has some good value there. But yeah, I think he'd be the one. If I was going to get rid of one of them, it'd probably be Jonnu Smith. All right, so before the show, I asked y'all to bring some of your favorite 2021 breakouts. And Jen, I'll go to you first here. Give me one of your favorite breakouts for the upcoming season.
I'm going to go with Colin Johnson. I mean, I know he's not high on everybody's list, but that's because we haven't seen him so far. He had a big week 12 and 13. He had a touchdown. He had an awesome catch, but the dude's tall. He's 6'6", and he's quick, and he is good with his hands. And I just think that if given the chance, that we'll be able to see something from him. Plus, he had a groin injury the second half of his senior year in college, so he, we all kind of forgot about him. He didn't participate in the combine, so I think he's gonna have a great season. Sorry, I've got a cat that's trying to crawl at me.
You're good.
And Westbrook and Cole are likely leaving, and that just leaves Chark and Chenault and Colin Johnson, and I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, I like that call a lot too, and I actually wrote up Colin Johnson recently in my Fantasy Pros article, and and mention him as a possible breakout candidate too, because you're right. I mean, there's only 2 receivers under contract right now. He's 6'6". He's getting a new quarterback. We know Trevor Lawrence is going to be there. It's going to be better than it was last year. You know, he'll be a huge red zone option for them. So yeah, I think he's someone you can buy super low right now. And then in redraft, you could probably get him undrafted, you know, at this point at least. But for dynasty purposes, you could probably buy him super low and hope that he breaks out next year. All right, Ryan, let's go to you. Who do you got for your breakout? When your breakout?
For my breakout player, I'm going Cole Kmet, tight end for the Bears. I think his situation is, we saw the flashes at the end of the season. Last 5 games, he had 6 plus targets, and all of them, he finished top 5 in true catch percentage. He was top 10 in target separation. Like, he had the underlying stats you like to see, and that team is going to be losing a very big target now to Robinson. I know he hasn't said he's going, and said he'd like to resign, but I don't believe it. I think he's gone, which leaves a huge hole in the red zone because their other receivers aren't really big-bodied guys with Darnell Mooney and Anthony Miller. I think the quarterback situation improves as well. The red zone threat's wide open for him, and he's a big-bodied tight end who can do everything. And we saw the flashes as a rookie, and we always wait for the third-year tight end, but everyone rushes. Yeah. I think we can get him kind of early now, and he's free.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. And I know Jay was in the group earlier. I don't know if he's still in the group or not, but he's kind of the Cole Kmet leader of the fan club right now. He's been pumping up Cole Kmet all offseason. But, yeah, I like that call a lot. You know, we do see that 2-3 year tight end window sort of open up for some of these guys. And I do think that, you know, if Robinson's gone especially, that's a lot of targets that are being vacated that he can pick up. So, yeah, good call on Cole Kmet. Let's go back to you, Jen. Give me another one of your breakouts.
Yeah, I'm bummed I didn't pick Cole Kmet. I'm part of the Cole Kmet club. I don't know what I was thinking. Next, I've got Deandre Swift. You know, he was moved up into RB1 in Week 10. He got to spend some time with Adrian Peterson and really learn from him. And, you know, if you've watched any football, any film on him, he's so fast. He can hurdle, he can see the pockets, he can get through those holes, and he's fantastic. And I just think that it's only up from here for him, like, especially with Goff coming in. I mean, if you think back to the Goff early days, Goff loves his running backs. So I think he's going to be handing it off to Swift as often as he can.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Actually, I think I've got Swift either in my top 12 or just outside my top 12. But I think he's going to have a monster season. I think the coach.
He's my RB7.
He's your RB7, mm-hmm. So you're really high in Swift.
I love Deandre Swift. He's my number 1 back pre-landing spots last year.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of his, and yeah, I agree with everything he said. He's phenomenal.
Yep.
Especially because there's receiving.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the coach there, the new coach, said that he wants to sort of create an Alvin Kamara type with Swift, and I think Swift is definitely capable of that with the passing game as well. So I like that a lot for him. Mm-hmm. All right, Ryan, give us breakout number 2.
I'm going Jerry Judy. I think he kind of became an afterthought of last year's draft. He was everybody's 1 or 2 before when the draft process started, all the way until the season. And then we saw breakouts. Justin Jefferson happened. T. Higgins happened. Chenault's being preferred over him. We're seeing all these guys, and we're not looking at what's really there with them. It takes time for a rookie to perform. He had a good season. He was actually I had the number right for me. He was 6th in air yards this year. So they were throwing it deep to him. But the thing what's crazy is he was 2nd in unrealized air yards. So that's deep balls and yardage that was thrown his way but not completed. So he had 965 yards just left on the field.
Yep.
For him. And he was 11 yards reception. So it was a fantastic start. I know we kind of rag on Drew Lock, but he battled injuries this year. He's also still really young.
Yeah.
And he still had games with Driscoll ripping at quarterback. It's going to come around, man. People got caught up in that stupid drop conversation because that doesn't matter for fantasy.
Yeah.
When push comes to stuff, he knows how to get open. He can run with the ball in his hands. Obviously, he's a deep threat because they're throwing him deep all the time. It's going to click.
Yep.
Like, The breakout's coming.
It's funny. I had an argument about Jerry Judy on Twitter. Actually, it may have been on Facebook, actually. And, they were trying to compare him. He was a bust and this and that. And I wrote up two numbers. I wrote up Jerry Judy's stat line, didn't put his name attached to it, and wrote another player's stat line right underneath it in their rookie season as well. And they're very comparable other than the touchdowns. And it was right next to DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf had very similar numbers in his rookie season besides the touchdowns that he had. And people are ragging on Jerry Judy. And, Metcalf had Russell Wilson. Who did Judy have throwing to him? He had a lot for some of the season. Like you mentioned, Driscoll. He had that receiver in the one game that basically could just throw it away because he couldn't complete a pass to anybody. So Judy to me is definitely
Kendall Hilton. Look, touchdowns skew so much.
Yep.
Like we talked about DJ Moore last week. He's had 2 seasons top 9 in receiving yards, but because he's had 4 touchdowns and in the 26th and 32nd ranked offense, he's not being topped out as top receiver.
Yep.
But he's right there in every other stat. You had take his touchdowns from 4 to 6. He's a top 8 guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, show some patience, man.
Yep.
Talent's there. Talent doesn't disappear.
As a Bronco fan, I'd love to see everything you just said.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, Judy had a good rookie season. It's just that other rookies had better seasons, and he got overshadowed, and he wasn't, a big fantasy relevant guy because without touchdowns, he didn't have a lot of value. But he had 113 targets. I mean, that's pretty close to it. Yeah, it's close to elite level targets right there. I mean, that's amazing. So, I like Judy.
Last year's class is just a historical class.
Yep.
At both running back and receivers from fantasy. Like, we have 8 guys in the top 50 with top 50 receivers right now in Dynasty from last year's class. 5 running backs in the top 25. Like,
yeah,
it was a phenomenal class, and he's just kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Yep, definitely. All right, let's do one more breakout, Jen. What you got for me?
I got for my last guy Van Jefferson, and I really like Van Jefferson, even though we haven't really seen him a lot. He played all 16 games, and it was just kind of a bummer that he didn't get any share of the load. I mean, he was picked second, so obviously the Rams see something in him, and I just think that if he had a chance, he could do something. And with Stafford there, who knows? I mean, I think Stafford likes to throw the ball, so Van Jefferson hopefully will be there, and McVay likes to roll out those wide receiver 3 sets, and he could be the third.
Yep.
And I think if he is, then he could truly have a breakout season.
I like that call. And I think Josh Reynolds, who kind of was the one that he was competing with as a free agent this year, so he could potentially be leaving.
If they don't resign him, then...
I love Van Jefferson. What he does really well is what the Rams and Sean McVay he's such a good route runner.
Yep.
That's what makes it so he can be special there.
Yep. Agreed 100%. Ryan, you got one more breakout for us?
I do, and it's a little weird. It's Sam Darnold.
Okay.
I think Sam Darnold's in a weird spot. There's a lot of ifs. One, does he stay at the Jets? If he does, do they draft the quarterback? Or do they trade down? If he stays in the Jets and say they don't draft the quarterback, the situation's 100 times better just because of the fact Adam Gase is gone.
Yeah, exactly.
He has arm talent. He's still 24, 25. Like, he's still a young quarterback. He lands in the Bears. His situation's better, which I don't love that spot. He lands in the Patriots. His situation's better. They said they want a second-round pick for him. And if they want to get Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, they're going to trade him. And he has the talent to be an immediate starter on a half dozen teams. And if he starts, he's going to automatically be better because Gase. Plus, whatever situation he is, can't be that much better or can't be much worse than coming from the second worst team in the NFL.
Yes.
Like, everything's leaning his way. If he gets the chance to start, he can break out. And I believe in the talent I've seen in him. Like, he just needs a new lease on life.
Yeah, you know what? I hope, that there's some way that we can get him. The 49ers, I'm a Niners fan, of course, and, Garoppolo's there, but, he got that big contract. If we cut him, it's like $3 million in dead cap. If we keep him, it's like $26 million. But if we can find a way to get Darnold, we have the connection with the head coach there. You know, he used to be for us. So what was that? What were you going to say, Ryan?
We're last night we were doing quarterback rankings on Draft Bible, and we were talking about that. And Eric mentioned that landing spot too. It moved Sam Darnold up about 10 spots in my rankings. Yep. He went to San Francisco. They have a good line, all kinds of wide receivers who get open. Kittle, like, if he lands there, his natural tilt skill set could just blow away what we saw out of Garoppolo. Oh, I'd lose my mind. He'd be automatically a QB2 and maybe higher.
Yeah. Yep, I agree, and I think that's something that, you know, we might look at. I know I keep hearing reports that, you know, Garoppolo's the man, we're keeping Garoppolo, but he's under contract right now. They have to say that. They can't come out and say, you know, we're getting rid of him, because if they do that, then they just kill all their trade value. So right. I do think that Garoppolo will be out eventually, so I like it. All right, let's move into some bold predictions. I know it's super early to do bold predictions. That's why they're always so much fun, and then we go back and look at them and see how wrong we were. Jen, we'll go to you first. Give me one of your bold predictions for the upcoming season.
Okay, so I'm going Antonio Gibson, top 5 running back. And I know that's a little crazy, but he is just getting his feet wet in the running back position. You know, I mean, he didn't have a monster season. I think it was like 795 yards and 11 touchdowns. I mean, it wasn't anything amazing, but like, he was a wide receiver in college. He still has the opportunity to become more of like a CMC with this Ron Rivera team. Like, he could potentially catch the ball a whole lot and run the ball. And I'm super excited to see what he does. And I know that top 5 is bold, but that's what we're going for here.
Yeah, top 5 is definitely bold. I just looked up my rankings on him. Now, granted, this is dynasty rankings, a little bit different than just one season, but I have him in my top 12, so it's not, you know, it's not that bold. I think top 5 definitely possible. Because yeah, you're right. In that Redskins offense, Washington football team. I still say Redskins. I live here in Washington D.C. and I've heard that so many times. But yeah, I think definitely it's a possibility for him. It's in with the realm of possibilities for him to finish top 5. I love that. Ryan, what you got for me on bold calls?
I'm gonna say T. Higgins finishes a wide receiver 1 this year. The situation's improving. The team's going to get an offensive line. They have their franchise quarterback. AJ Green's moving on, which leaves T. Higgins as their top guy. And last year, he was peppered with targets. Like, from the get-go, we saw from week 2, or week 1's kind of, it was only 6, but went 9, 7, 8, 8, 8, 5, 9, 9. Like, 10. It keeps going the whole season until Burrow went down, and then it fell off. Their pass attempts fell off. This team doesn't have a great defense. They can't improve that much on their offensive line improves, and he gets in Cincinnati throws the ball 550 times, which is in the realm of possibilities with that offense.
Yep.
T. Higgins is the man there with no A.J. Green there and just Tyler Boyd. He could be a 130 target guy, 140 targets in that offense. And you get that amount of targets with any skill set, you're in the kind of competition for that. With his big body, his red zone, his ability in the red zone, that's how you get a wide receiver 1 out of somewhere where you may not see it.
Yeah, I like it. And Sean has a good point. As long as Burrow starts week 1, I think that's going to be a caveat that we need to add to that. Because there is
if Joe Burrow's out, no.
Yeah. Then
but you know what? The thing we gotta say, anytime a quarterback's injured, a team's number 1 quarterback's injured, expect a drop off. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Burrow, he's coming off the injury, but if any quarterback goes down, like saying receiver's not gonna produce, then of course they're not.
Yep.
Unless they're D-Hop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's different.
He's quarterback proof. It doesn't matter. Other than Brock Osweiler, he was the one quarterback that was able to kill his value.
Like D-Hop just a freak. But Higgins is a damn good talent. It's 6'4", 215. Come on, man.
Yeah, he's definitely. I like that call a lot because you're right. I mean, as long as Burrow's back week 1, he was seeing a ton of targets with AJ Green there. AJ Green's gone. You know, I've said it a couple times too. Tyler Boyd is a good number 2. His numbers were actually better when he was the number 2 receiver than a number 3 or number 1. So yeah, I think that Higgins takes the number 1 role. Tyler Boyd stays in the slot and bands the second spot there. So yeah, I like that call a lot. All right, Jen, going back to you. Bold prediction. What you got?
Okay, so my last one is J.K. Dobbins. I think that he could have the potential to be a top 10 running back next year. I mean, Gus Edwards is staying, but Mark Ingram is gone.
Yep.
Like, he's gone. So I think J.K. Dobbins has a real opportunity here to show us, what he's got. He did really well in the last half of the season last year. In his last six appearances, he had a touchdown in every single game, and he had 2 in the final game of the season. So I think if Harbaugh can learn to love him, we can all come together behind him, rally behind him, and see him there in the top 10.
I love that call. Actually, it was funny because me and Ryan were comparing notes the other day and our rankings. And Ryan's a Ravens fan, just for reference. And I actually had J.K. Dobbins ranked higher than Ryan, which was kind of ironic. Him being the Ravens fan, you'd think he'd be higher. Ryan, what do you think of that? What do you think of that ranking there of Dobbins in the top 10? And then give us your last bold prediction.
I love it. I'm just outside, and that's just because I like Gus more than I should.
Trying to reverse jinx it. If you say he's not going to be good, he'll be awesome.
Reverse jinx it. But my last one, I'm going to go negative. I had 2 written down. Is A.J. Dillon is going to finish outside of the top 24.
Ooh.
Because we're all gung-ho about him right now.
Well, let me ask you this. Is this bold prediction, assume that Aaron Jones is gone?
Yep.
Okay.
Either way.
All right,
if Aaron Jones is there, he ain't playable at all. But here's the thing. They have this weird crush on Jamal Williams. We already know this. And that's kept Aaron Jones off the field. Aaron Jones is a premier running back in the league right now. They may bring in another guy. He was not that efficient last year. He does have the big play difference. We have Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has the big playability, that explosiveness. Dillon's a better version of what Jamal Williams is, but their game's still similar. I see that team going full-blown committee one way or another. And I just don't think it's going to be consistent play. If he finishes in the top 24, it's just because a lot of people went down in the league. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think if Jones leaves and Dillon gets that, whatever that role is, first, second down back, the only way he gets into that top 24 is touchdowns. If he gets a bunch of short yards touchdowns.
Here's my thing. What was Jamal Williams there? First, second down back.
Yeah.
So if they're both there, that means they need a third down back.
Fair.
If they have, you need one.
Yep.
That change of pace back, and then he comes in at third downs. You have these two staying fresh and spreading out first and second down. That brings some carries down.
Yeah,
when
right.
You're not getting volume, you're 2 down back.
Yeah, you're
not good for fantasy.
Not good for fantasy. Maybe good for football, but not good for fantasy for sure. All right, real quick, let's pay some bills. Today's show is brought to you by ThriveFantasy.com. It's DFS for prop bets. Visit ThriveFantasy.com or get the app for iOS or Android. Use our promo code Armchair and get an instant match up to $50. Choose your 10 favorite prop bets, build your lineup, and compete against the rest of the field for cash prizes. Again, sign up today at ThriveFantasy.com or get the app for iOS or Android. Use our promo code Armchair to get your instant match. And for more on that, let's hit the commercial.
Experience a new way to play daily fantasy sports and esports on Thrive Fantasy. Thrive's game concept revolves around player props, which are simple over-unders on player stats. There are contests for traditional sports including the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, and cricket, as well as esports titles including CSGO, Dota 2, League of Legends, and more coming soon. Here's how to play. Choose your lineup of over-unders for top-tier athletes that have the biggest impact on the game. Each prop has a fantasy point total based on how likely it is to hit. The more points the selection is worth, the riskier it is. Rack up the most points and win a share of the prize pool. Thrive is awarded over $2 million in cash, so come and prop up today.
All right, guys, welcome back. I'm here with Ryan and Jen. We just did some bold predictions. Now we're going to do a little bit of buy or sell.
What you gonna do? Buy or sell?
All right, this is how buy or sell works. I'm going to give you some kind of stat or prediction, and you're either going to buy it, meaning you agree with it, or you're going to sell it, meaning you disagree with it, and then explain your reasoning. Jen, I'm going to go with the first one for you here. Carson Wentz will finish the season as a top 15 QB. Are you going to buy that or sell that?
Sell, man. Sell. Like kind of what we talked about at the beginning of the show. We don't know what Wentz is going to do, and I'm certainly not going to buy him as top 15 just yet. Like, I just need him to do something before I can get anywhere near Wentz. I've never honestly been a huge fan of Wentz. But, prove it. Show me. And he hasn't shown us anything for years. So,
I'm with you as well. I think volume, he would need volume in order to get to that point. And I think in that offense, they want to run the ball a little bit. So even if he is, quote unquote, good for the NFL, he's probably not going to be good enough in fantasy to get that top 15 mark. So I think I'm with you on that one. Ryan, I got this one for you. I left this one for you. This is your boy. Joe Mixon will return to high-end RB2, low-end RB1 production in 2021.
Shit. Dude, I had the hardest time with this. I should post on Twitter because I did my rankings this week, and he finishes my RB 19 for Dynasty, which was real painful. But we're looking at a high-end RB2. We have a really good group of running backs right now. Like, you have McCaffrey, Barkley, Kamara, Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Deandre Swift, Josh Jacobs, Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb, Cam Akers, Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Antonio Gibson, David Montgomery, Austin Eckler, like all these guys. I have none of these guys. I really feel comfortable moving him over.
Yeah.
I have Najee Harris over him already. I don't even know if he's landing. I could maybe see him moving up to, I guess, a high end at 14 or 15. But it's really hard. And kind of what I alluded to earlier about the Bengals, they're not going to have a good defense, and they're going to be passing a lot. So unless he gets super into the passing game, which Burrow isn't really known as the check down king because he likes to sling it, I don't love it.
Yeah. The podcast I was on last night, I mentioned there's 6, maybe 7 if you believe in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but there's 6 second-year backs that have top 12 potential. We mentioned Dobbins, we mentioned Akers, we mentioned Swift. JT, of course, is going to be there. Antonio Gibson is possibly going to be there. James Robinson's possibly going to have a chance to do that. Then you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All those guys are going to be added to the mix to being, top guys. So that kind of pushes Joe Mixon down the ring a little bit.
Yeah, it's just odd, man. I mean, he'd be good. He could be a guy you plug in your lineup every week and you're really happy about it.
Yeah, yep.
But is he going to be elite? I don't know. I don't think.
All right, let's go back to you, Jen, on this next one. So all 3 of these wide receivers are playing somewhere else next season. Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Allen Robinson. Buy or sell?
I'm going to sell on that one. I think that Golladay is going to get the franchise tag. So, I can't. And I think the other 2 will probably find different homes. But I think Kenny Galladay's sticking with the Lions. They have no one else to tag. So, they're not going to tag Mohamed Sanu. They're not going to tag Danny Amendola. So they're probably going to stick with Golladay and give him the tag if they can't make a deal.
Yeah, I think I'm with you as well. And I think I wrote that one before we heard that sort of rumblings of Kenny Golladay getting a tag. This is when I still thought he might be leaving, but the tag never even occurred to me until just recently. So yeah, I agree. I think Juju and Al Robinson are pretty much, on their way out, but I think Golladay can be one that's going to be tagged and be a Lion for at least one more season.
Yeah.
Dude, that tag thing makes me so mad for him.
Yeah.
It's been the number one thing that's just made me mad in fantasy recently, and just football in general.
The tag.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, let's go back to you on this one. Buy or sell? Jameis Winston is the new starting quarterback for the Saints, and he finishes the season as a top 15 quarterback.
Oh, I hate the Saints. No and yes and no. So he could be the starter. Taysom Hill could be the starter. I don't know what they're doing. I know Drew Brees finished his QB 20 last year, and he didn't finish as great the year before, unless he had like weird scoring. Shout out to Scott Fishbowl for being awesome. But like, he didn't throw a ton of volume. They ran the ball a lot to play good defense, and they tried to play safe. Like they just tried to play winning football. No tomfoolery around. And like, Jameis Winston isn't about that life. Jameis Winston wants to go out there and sling it. Yep. And Sean Payton's not going to let that shit fly. Like, there's a chance the Saints quarterback on week 1 isn't on their roster right now. And if it's Winston, I don't want no part of it. The quarterback position's solid right now. There's some of the rookies that take over him right away. I'm just not there.
All right. So you're in on him possibly being a starter.
You're just attacking people like you're attacking players I used to love.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot. I did that on purpose. I set it up just like that. All right, Jen, back to you on this one. So I've mentioned a couple times already about the running backs that we had from last year that are now second-year players. But at least 4 of these second-year running backs will end up in the top 12. And these are the names I listed. Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, Antonio Gibson, James Robinson, Deandre Swift, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So 4 of those 7 are top 12 guys this year. Now, you've already mentioned that possibly 2 of those could be in the top 10 or top 5. So what do you think about the other 2?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm high on 4 of 7. We kind of touched on CEH earlier, and he isn't producing. So I'm gonna toss him out along. I mean, with let's see, you said. I mean, Cam Akers, I can go either way on, but you know the others, I think for sure we've got. I'm gonna buy that. 4 of the 7 for sure.
Yep, I think I'm with you as well. I think I have 4 of the 7 already in my top 12 for my rankings already. So yeah, I think you could possibly even put 5 in there potentially if there's an injury or something. So yeah, I agree. I think I'm buying that one as well. And Ryan, I got your boy one more time here. I really picked on you tonight, man. It's been 2 weeks. I had to get you.
You're just trying to trigger me.
So this one's real simple. Buy or sell. DJ Moore is a top 12 wide receiver in 2021.
One, you're just trying to get me riled up, and I definitely need to read the show sheet a little bit deeper sometimes. So I didn't realize this question was coming my way. But here's what I'll say about this, because yes, he's going to be there. We talked about it earlier tonight. He is 8th and 9th in receiving yards the last 2 years. Last season, he was 5th in air yards, 6th in deep targets. Unrealized air yards, he was 8th, so they missed him a ton. Yards per reception, 4th. Yards per target, 10th. Yards per route run, 12th. So everything was there. Oh, target accuracy for passes that were catchable for him, 83rd. That sucks. Their team touchdown ranks, 28th, 31st, 15th over the last 3 years. So the last 2 years, he's been in the bottom, 8% of the league. They've been pure trash. The world's going to get better. I don't want to hear that Robbie Anderson hoopla. DJ Moore is their yards leader. They use him as a deep route, more of a deep player last year, less targets, which shows his versatility. And as I said, that touchdowns go from 4 to 6, which a new quarterback, maybe Justin Fields, maybe Zach Wilson, maybe Deshaun Watson, that's a lot better than Teddy Bridgewater, and that's going to improve. I have him locked in my top 12.
All right, so I disagree with that a little bit. Now, my caveat is Teddy Bridgewater is still the quarterback there. Now, if it's Watson, then all bets are off. But
they already said they want to improve the position. Like, it's been stated.
Yeah.
Teddy B is gone. He ain't long for this world.
Yeah, I mean that contract doesn't be hard to get rid of. He's owed a lot of money in this year. I mean, after that, I think he's pretty much
1 year. Eat it.
Just eat it. All right, fair
Steelers
enough.
are about to do that with Big Ben, man.
Fair enough.
41.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. It's been 2 weeks, Ryan. I had to get you a couple times in there. I had to make sure to get some of your players in there to get you triggered. All right, so let's get to some keep cut trade.
It's now time for Keep, Cut, Trade.
All right, if you're not familiar with how this works, I'm going to give you 3 players. You have to keep one, you have to cut one, and you have to trade one, and try to explain why you're doing that. We have time. Actually, I'll give them to both of you. So, Ryan, I'm going to go to you first on this first one. I got 3 quarterbacks here, 2 second-year quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, or Joe Burrow. Keep, cut, trade. Which one are you going with here?
Keeping Joe Burrow. The upside's phenomenal. He's a complete package to quarterback position. I'm trading Jalen Hurts because his value right now is perceived the highest. He's the hot name, being he just got locked in at that QB1 position. So I think he has the highest trade value. I love Tua, and I think Tua's going to be better than Hurts this year. But I'd cut him out of those three just because he doesn't have the trade value at the moment.
Fair enough. What about you, Jen? Keep, cut, trade Tua, Jalen Hurts, and Joe Burrow.
Yeah, so I agree with keeping Burrow. That is a dud. That makes perfect sense to me. I'm actually going to cut Hurts and I'm going to trade Tua. Like, Miami they have so much faith in Tua, and I don't have that faith in him. Like, I just don't. I mean, if it were up to me, Fitzmagic would still be there,
Wow.
like carrying the team. But he's not. So, I guess Tua for me has just been a big question mark, and he's been hurt. So it's hard to say, but I mean, I can trade him and probably get somebody to take him for something. So that's what I'm going to do.
All right. The next one, Ryan, is 3 running backs here. 2 second-year guys that are sort of, you either love them or you hate them for this year, and then one guy that's been sort of poo-pooed a little bit on Twitter. James Robinson, who people can't decide if they like him or not. Was he a one-year fluke? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who people are calling now a bust after 1 year. And then Miles Sanders. So Robinson, Helaire, and Miles Sanders. Keep, cut, trade. Who you got, Ryan?
This one's tough. It really is. I'm keeping Sanders. He's been uber efficient his whole career. This season seemed like it was one of his worst, but all of his underlying numbers were the highest. His yards per carry, his yards per touch. Like, every time he touched the ball, he made huge plays. And this was on just a terrible offense. Running quarterback helps a running back at all times. It opens holes up. Any improvement to that receiving core, that has to happen. Their offensive line's getting healthier, and they should make moves to improve that. His situation can't get worse than it was. Like,
True.
it was bad. Trading Helaire just because he has the most perceived value right now. He's still young. He still has that name. We still remember the national championship, and he's still attached to the Chiefs. Like, all of those make you want to buy a player. And the fact he was a first-round pick. James Robinson, he's a little harder to trade for because nobody knows how to value him. You're going to get less for him than you would for Helaire, even though he could finish better, but his perceived value is just not as high. So I'm cutting him.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Helaire, even though he didn't have a great season and Robinson had a great season, the fact that Robinson was undrafted and he plays for the Jags, it just lowers his value in general. I think Helaire probably has a little bit more value. Jen, what are your thoughts? James Robinson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders.
I went same, kind of like what Ryan was saying. I mean, I agree with everything. And kind of like what we talked about with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he just hasn't been producing. And the Chiefs notoriously, they want to throw the ball. They brought in Le'Veon Bell. I mean, they don't have a whole lot of stock and confidence in him, I suppose. So I'm doing the same. I'm keeping Robinson.
Sanders.
Cutting CEH. Yes, keeping Sanders and trading Robinson because he's just that question mark. We don't know.
All right. Now let's do one last one here. Let's do the tight ends. We'll skip that third question because we already talked about those receivers already tonight. So for the tight ends, I got keep, cut, trade. These are 3 guys that had sort of breakout seasons. 2 of them were kind of unexpected out of nowhere. But Logan Thomas, Robert Tonyan, and Hayden Hurst. Ryan, keep, cut, trade.
I'm keeping Robert Tonyan, dynasty-wise. He's younger. He's the first tight end in, since like Bubba Franks, we've seen Aaron Rodgers trust.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a long time. I know we don't want to chase touchdowns because his 11 touchdowns was great last year, but he had a ton of targets in the red zone. I trust it. Out of these 3, he's the youngest. Atlanta's kind of a question mark in general as a team right now, and Hayden Hurst is low in the pecking order. He's behind Julio, who he still might have a couple years at him. Even 3 years down the line, you're still going to target Julio before Hayden Hurst. Yeah. Calvin Ridley, who's a borderline wide receiver 1 in fantasy, and he's third in pecking order at the best behind running back. So I'm cutting Hayden Hurst, And I'm trading Logan Thomas just because he was the hot name this year. He got a lot of targets. There's not a lot of weapons there. But I had no idea he was 29 when I was looking at this question earlier today. I forgot that he was an old man out there. So I'm going to trade him before everyone else realizes.
Fair enough. Jen, you got anything different than that?
Nope. I mean, pretty much the same. Hayden Hurst, it's Atlanta, you know. I mean, we'll see what happens with him, but keeping Tanyan, he has lots of potential, and like you said, you know, he's got some tight end love there, and then Logan Thomas. I mean, he's going to be 30.
Yep.
So we'll see what he does.
All right, so we got 2 questions in the chat that we're going to hit really quick here. First one, Ryan, I'm going to go to you. This is from Sean Sullivan on Facebook. With the situation at tight end this year, will there be a huge drop-off again like we've seen this past year between the top tier and the mid-tier? What are your thoughts on that?
A huge drop-off in the tight end position?
Yeah, between the top tier and the mid-tier. There's going to be such a huge gap because it was huge, bigger than most years. It was like Waller, Kittle, Kelsey, and then nothing.
Yeah, I don't think it changes. Andrews could sneak back in and be close. Hawkinson's right there on the border. But if you even include those 5 in there, it's question marks. It's Noah Fant, Robert Tonyan, Goddard, Logan Thomas. Kyle Pitts could be better than those guys. Like Hunter Henry, Gesicki. There's all question marks, no answers. You have 5 tight ends who you legit know are going to perform, and everything's a question mark.
Yep, I like it.
So, yeah, I hate position so much.
Yeah, that position is pretty much get one of the top guys or just get anybody that you can get to fill in there and hope he catches a touchdown, because that's basically what the tight end position has become.
Literally making your rankings for tight ends just throw on the dartboard. Like, throw 5 in your hand at once and see where they land.
Yep, exactly. And the other question is coming from Eric Johnson. He's on YouTube. Jen, he wants to know if the rumors for Aaron Jones pan out and he ends up in Miami, where are you taking him in redraft? Are you taking him as high as you were before, or about the same, or a little bit lower than where you had him as a Packer?
I'll probably take him about the same. It just depends on what we see, you know. That's hard to say. It's all at this point in time. It's like all speculation. You never know until you know, and we're just here. I mean, I'd like to see Jones in another system and see what happens, and then I can think about it a little bit harder.
Yeah, it's tough right now making those kind of decisions too, because you know we saw last year with the Miami Dolphins, for example. You know, they went and traded for Breida, and then when the season starts, it's not even Breida or Jordan Howard who they went out and got in free agency. It's what's his name? I can't think of his name right now. It's escaping me, but
Gaskins.
Gaskins, thank you. Yeah, it was Gaskins, and no one saw that coming. You know, from a mile away. So yeah, it's tough right now. If they go out and get Aaron Jones, I do think he's still a top running back, obviously in this league. But how is Miami planning on using him? You know, do they trade Tua? We've heard that talks before too. Them trading Tua to get possibly Deshaun Watson. That changes things as well. So I think I'm probably in the same area. I don't think he drops out of the top 12 for me. I might knock him down just a little bit just because of the uncertainty of the Dolphins. But yeah, it's tough to kind of call that right now at this point.
I like the Miami situation more. I'm just throwing that out there.
More than the Packers?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're definitely on it more. We saw Gaskins play very well. Any running back who's in there playing well. Their defense plays great. So they want to play at the lead. They want to work the clock. I think it's a great landing spot for him. And he wants $15 million, which means he's going to get like 12. If you pay a running back $12 million, you better give him the damn ball.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, it is time for our favorite segment of the night, the Forgotten Fantasy Player.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, Jen, who is your Forgotten Fantasy Player?
Okay, so mine is Chad Ochocinco Johnson.
Nice.
Okay, so I've been playing fantasy on and off for about 10 years now, and I drafted him my first season of playing fantasy, and I was like, I don't know, I guess this guy, I'll take him. And I think I had like the first or second pick. And this was before sleeper apps and all that stuff. So it was like, you really had to do some research. I got so lucky with him. And I mean, he overall, obviously, Ocho Cinco was a great player. He spent the majority of his time with the Bengals. He had well over 11,000 yards over his tenure there, and 67 touchdowns. Like, the year that I drafted him, I think it was 2008. This sounds low, but he had 12.2 average fantasy points per game that year. But that was before we had all the fancy, like, super flex and all of that stuff. So that was actually decently high. And I wrote him all season, obviously, and it was awesome. And now he's doing, like, Dancing with the Stars. Yeah. I mean, people remember him, but he's not, like, high on the radar. People don't talk about him as much as he deserves, honestly. But, had bad press. He had the domestic violence situation, and but overall, he's my forgotten for sure.
I like that one a lot. I actually got a story about him. I actually was online playing Xbox one night, and he put a tweet out like, "Who wants to play me in Madden?" So I responded back to him and got to play him in Madden on Xbox. It was pretty cool. So I got my ass beat, but it was still cool.
He balls on that.
He is.
As I said, he gets smoked.
Yep. And then he wanted to play me in FIFA, and I'm like, man, I don't know nothing about FIFA.
Yeah, Chris Allen, who was on our show a few months ago, had him, Ocho Cinco did like undercover work and was serving people pizza at the place he went to in college.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. All right, that wraps up the show. Let's go around the room. Give us your Twitter handle where we can follow you, plug anything you got going on. Jem, I'll go to you first. So
I'm at Jem Polvogt on Twitter. Also at IBT_media for Twitter. IBT YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place, but that's where you can primarily find us on Twitter.
Good stuff. Ryan?
Find me on Twitter, Ryan Searfoss at Foss534. Find me here every Wednesday night. Find me at the Dynasty Draft Room, Draft Bible Podcast Network for Sports Illustrated.
That's the longest name ever.
I think it's the first time I've said the whole thing without reading it, so I'm really proud of myself. Long name, but definitely check us out. We have some really cool stuff. I do the official rankings for them now for Dynasty.
Nice.
I do the podcast every Tuesday night and write for them as well.
All right, good stuff. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. And just a real quick plug, we have a few days left in our promo that we are running. We are doing personal league podcasts. Basically, it's $25 right now, normally $100. And we break down your entire league. I've been joining into some of the sleeper groups. They add me as a co-owner. I take all the screenshots, get all the teams, I send it out to the Going for Two team, and we break down each individual team, do a full 1 hour on your podcast. So it's through the end of February, so a few more days here. $25. Just visit goingfor2.com/leaguepod. Or you can hit me up on Twitter, DM me if you want to do it, and we can get that set up for you. All right.
Extra 5, I'll roast your team. I'll roast somebody's team.
You roast somebody's team for an extra 5 if you pass Ryan. Pass Ryan a little $5. I like it.
I'll be brutal.
All right, for Jen, for Ryan, I am Jeff. We'll see you next week.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
No problem.